Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
And now we have Keri Murphy. And your story is special because you lost everything in the last recession. You've built up an amazing business since then. But before we dive into that, can you tell the audience a little bit about you?
Where do you want me to start, Sigrun?
Well, that you started in TV as a child now.
I did, yes. So the long and short of my story is I grew up in a very entertainment-oriented family. I knew when I was little that I wanted to be on TV, which is very funny because I have a 4.5-year-old now, and all she does is perform and put on shows. I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I have in store? It's so cute. So when I was about 11 years old, after begging my mom for a very long time, she put me in this little local modeling and acting school.
Mhm.
And it was there at that most awkward age of 11 years old that I just kind of fell in love with video and being able to emote. Even at that young age, I was going through some hardships and some family struggles, and it allowed me to express myself. And now fast forward in my 40s, 3 businesses later, I started my first business in my early 20s as an interior designer. And then that little modeling agency that I went through as a little girl, I ended up purchasing at 27
Mhm.
and built it to an almost $1 million business when we had the 2008 recession hit.
Yeah.
And I had no plan B. As an entrepreneur, I have always been incredibly optimistic. I think it's why my business is called Inspired Living, because it's who I am. I've always been a cheerleader. I've always been an optimist. I love seeing the possibility in people. And sometimes that could be a good thing and sometimes that could be a bad thing. but but Sigrun, it brings me so much joy to see people step into a new possibility for them. And so I purchased the agency. And like you said, I lost it all when that recession hit. But here was the interesting thing. Before that happened,
Mhm.
I was always using video to grow my business. I just didn't know. We didn't have Facebook. I remember MySpace at the time, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But I was always using local TV. I was the local interior design expert. When I owned the agency, I was the fashion go-to expert. I was a spokesperson for a golf tea time website. And so I was always using video. I just didn't realize it at the time. And so when the recession did hit, I was in my early 30s and I had no idea what was happening. Unlike where we are right now, where we're all very aware, probably too aware of the pandemic and what's happening, I did not know really at that time what was happening, except that I was losing money, that I wasn't able to pay my team. At that time, it was a brick and mortar talent agency. We represented over 500 talent. And I felt like one day, probably how many of us feel right now, I woke up um, with this sense of despair that I I couldn't even breathe. I cried so hard. I felt like I was going to stop breathing because I didn't know what was next for me. And it wasn't just losing the agency. There were also trolls out there saying horrible things. And, I think so many of us fear being online because of what other people will say. And
Mhm.
I feel like going through that really prepared me for what I do right now, which is teaching entrepreneurs, influencers, visionaries, how to show up on camera, how to build an online presence, how to show up as a leader and as an authority, which is what we need and crave so much right now.
Mhm.
And so I packed up everything. I lost my home. I went bankrupt. I literally packed up my car, which was the only thing I had left, moved down to LA, signed with the top agency, and for 3 years was really trying to find my footing again. Now, here's what I want to share with you is that if you're in this place right now where you're in this oh my Lord moment, how am I going to make it through?
Mhm.
I think it's so important that you go inward, that you really look at who am I, what is under my feet, what am I really good at, what am I passionate about, and I always say I moved 7 times in 3 years. I booked some major network shows like E! And TV Guide. But then I found Inspired Living. I found a way to teach people what I've loved doing my whole life. And it organically grew faster than I could ever imagine. And we just hired new team, new full-time employees. I have a 5-week-old baby at home. We just hired a nanny. So I just want to say that I am with you wherever you're at right now. If you are a parent that are now like, oh my gosh, I have kids at home, you are wondering how I'm going to make it through right now, you have a sense of fear and uncertainty, there is so much amazing opportunity. And I'm not saying that from a successful entrepreneur point of view. I'm saying it because I went through it over 10 years ago. So that's the long and short of my story. So I grew up on camera, have been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, have married the two into teaching people now how important it is to authentically show up in a heart-centered way on camera and build your business. Sigrun, you are so amazing at teaching people how to leverage that online and how to build a successful business. But I would not be here if I did not go through that really challenging time that made me look within so I could create outwardly, so it really is an amazing time for all of us. And our mindset is what's going to dictate what happens in our life right now.
Yeah. We had a mindset expert, actually a neuroscientist earlier with
Yeah.
us today
And
about that. And so tell us what happened, because we know that most businesses collapse because of cash flow.
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us, walk us a little bit through what happened in your case. So, we can kind of understand why it happened.
Yes. Well, it's exactly that reason. I feel most entrepreneurs, we bootstrap our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, looking back, Sigrun, at that time in my life, the greatest lesson I learned was that I was at the top of the pyramid. I had never invested in coaching. I always hired people I liked. I didn't have a marketing strategy. Back then, brick and mortar, it was so different. Again, we didn't have online, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have ads and all of these things. So I was still doing yellow page ads, like the old thick, telephone books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that as an entrepreneur, we have two ways that we can grow our business. We can be reactive or we can be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
And when I owned the talent agency, I was always in reactive mode. Whatever someone needed, I showed up. It was like bright, shiny object every day. I remember my mom would ask me, so what do you do every day? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm busy, and every day, just goes into the next. Now with Inspired Living, we're much more proactive. We have a marketing plan. We have content strategy. We know what we're selling. We know how we're funneling. We have much more. And I hire people that are smarter than me. I hire mentors. I invest heavily in myself, which I never did back when I owned the talent agency. So I want to say that one of the things that changed dramatically for me in this business was how I think about it, my strategy around it. Instead of just showing up every day, reacting to all the things that come in, which is so easy to do, right? It's bright, shiny object, squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. And I've learned, even though I still do that, I've learned to be more focused every day and to have a team that helps me implement strategy instead of me just leading from the top and not having people that are strategically helping me grow. So, but I will say we ran out of cash. I made a couple decisions. I went into a brand new retail space in January of 2008. And again, had no idea. Bought all new equipment, wanted to look the best. So upgraded all of our equipment, didn't look at cash flow, didn't have projections or performas for my business. It was literally, I have money in the account. Let's make this decision. Where now I don't think that way. I save more. And it's still scary. It doesn't matter where you are, but the nice thing about being a small business owner is that you can pivot very quickly. Whereas a big conglomerate or a big company, a big business, you can't pivot that quickly. You have board members, you have stock and shareholders, so how I go about this business is much different than I did with the talent agency. But we just literally ran out of cash. For a while there, I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. What can I do to shuffle funds? And I wasn't really looking ahead. I wasn't looking at every month. What's our cash flow coming in? What are we doing to bring more in? Where are we at right now? And having trusted advisors to help me make tough decisions instead of just going, holy crap, what do I do right now? And looking within, because we only know what we know. And usually we're the technician in our business, right? We're the ones who help people get the result. We're not the ones who do the strategy. And I've really learned that you have to do both as a CEO of your company.
Yeah. So losing everything like that, that has such a, we tie our self-worth to what people see, like our job title or businesses. And that must have felt like, you go into hiding and don't want to kind of show up anywhere.
Absolutely. I mean, the guilt, the sense of failure that, oh my gosh, how did this happen to me? I had all of that. And you know what? Even growing inspired living, um, there's that residual effect. I've done a lot of NLP. I have a spiritual coach. You know, how we look at our money and our finances is a huge indicator to how we grow them. And
Mhm.
I've had to do a lot of internal work since that, and really understanding that, you know what can I learn from that? Overcoming that sense of shame. But I will say, Sigrun, I did feel all that, and yet I knew it wasn't the end for me. I
Yeah.
knew that God had a better plan, that the universe had a better plan, that this wasn't going to be the end. But man, it was so difficult. I remember, you know, again, here I am, a 33-year-old woman. I've owned homes, I've owned businesses, and I'm calling my mom for gas money. You know, I'm moving in with roommates. I am, you know, doing things that, and I think that that was a huge part though of me growing, was humbling myself
Mhm.
and being willing to go back in order to go forward, if that makes sense. Like I had to really go back into who am I, what's important to me, what are my core values, what am I really good at. And one of the things that we teach right now, Sigrun, that I feel is so important to everyone is moving from this generalist mentality to really becoming a specialist in your field. And I will say, when it comes to teaching people how to be on camera, we're one of the best. If not, like, we do amazing work. I know my team, I know our values, I know how we show up. And so we're not just a business coach, right? We're not just teaching this blanket thing. We're very specialized. And I feel like that's what people are going to be looking for right now, is they're looking for people that are specialized in their industries. They're going to pay more for those people. They don't want generalists. And I feel like for all of us right now, it is a time to recalibrate our voice. It
Mhm.
is a time to really step in to that one thing that we do so well and lead. And I feel like, you know, when I lost the agency, I went into hiding for quite some time until I really found my strength and my voice again. And I
Mhm.
think for all of us right now, we need to amplify instead of diminish our message and our voice.
Mhm. So, yeah, I think it's quite an humbling experience to go through this
Yes.
and be
Yes,
willing
most
to go
definitely.
back and be almost like, what did I do when I was a teenager or a student? I was willing to live with other people or go back to family. And um, but when you started your business? So you got a job first, right? You went and worked
I
for other
did. I
companies.
actually started teaching modeling and acting classes. And I was doing hosting work. I
Yeah.
did. I was booking hosting jobs. I was doing the shuffle. Oh my gosh, you know, running out to auditions, sitting in a room with 300 other people for your 2 minutes to go in and hope someone picks you.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting, Sigrun, is looking back at that. Again, I always feel like things happen for us, and I've always been taken care of. I mean, even when I didn't know where money was going to come, if you're resilient and if you're continually looking for opportunity, which I think we have to do right now, I was always taken care of. Like I always made my rent. I didn't always know how I was going to do that. And I will never forget when I was pregnant with Lauren, I was a single mom. Lauren was the greatest blessing and surprise in my life. My business was 3 years old, and I had to find a place to live. I had moved from Oregon back to California, and I remember I found the perfect place. It was 2 blocks from the water here in Hermosa Beach. I started crying when I found it because here I was living with roommates, by the way,
Yeah.
and I had no idea how I was going to make that payment. And living in Hermosa Beach is no inexpensive place to live. It's one of the most expensive places to live in the country.
Mm.
But I trusted that I was building something. I trusted my intuition. And there was not one time, and since then, that I've ever looked back. And so there's this there's this place where we have to be humble, but
Mhm.
then we also have to trust when we know that something's right for us, when we know it's time to invest, when we know it's time to lean in. And I think that's part of really trusting your inner self, doing the neurolinguistics, the inner belief work, and trusting when things show up for you in a certain time, good or bad, trusting that they're all showing up to support you in finding your most divine calling on this planet.
Mm. So what do you say to people who have, well, there are people who have completely lost their businesses already
Yeah,
because shops are closed,
I know.
offline work has disappeared, events have been canceled, and they are wondering how to move forward. You say you trust, you still lost everything, and then you still trust. There must
I
be like
did.
this unbelievable belief that the universe is looking out for you.
Yeah, I really feel like every moment, when I trust. And I think, again, we talked about going inward. One of the things that I learned through my own spiritual coach is to breathe, to take 20 minutes a day, because when you're in a place of um, fight or flight, right? When an ego's kicking in, when you are stuck in fear, you're not making decisions for your greatest and highest good, right? We're in scarcity, we're in fear mode. Again, I lost it all, and I see so many businesses closing, and it kills me, but it doesn't have to be you. We now have an online digital landscape that was never available to us before. And if you understand the need of your ideal client and you show up to serve in a way that is heartfelt and authentic, Sigrun, just like you're doing. You're like, what can I do right now? We're putting together this summit. We just created a toolkit for our clients. We're doing an online course, free training next week. Like, whatever you can do to show up right now, I think is important, and not to go into hiding, and take time to breathe and to really go inward and figure out where your trust lies. And if it's time to let go and start over, fantastic. If it's time to pull up the reins and be resilient and move ahead, then do that. But I think that when we make decisions out of scarcity and fear, they're never going to serve our greatest good.
Yeah.
So that's, right now I would say, where are you at in your business? You have to take care of your family. What do you need to do? Again, I went and taught little kids modeling and acting. I, moved in with people. I humbled myself, and then I got clear, and I actually invested in myself when I had no money in my account. Like, I remember investing in a coach, Sigrun, and it was Allie way back in the day, right? When she had Elevate.
Yeah.
And that $300 for me at the time, I didn't have that, but I knew that I needed to surround myself with people that knew better to get me to do better. And I think that that's one thing that we have to be willing to do throughout these hard times, is not go into a silo and try to figure it out ourselves. Like, how can you get help right now? How can you just talk to someone to look at opportunities that you can't see?
Yeah.
And so we do have this amazing platform. We have video, we have technology, we have a global crazy economy right now, but people are still looking for resources and help. So again, it's not the time to go into hiding. It's the time to put yourself out there even more.
Yeah. When you started your business after 3 years of working for others, I guess that what it was a bit scary, knowing what had happened before. But what did you put into place right away? Like you said, okay, you are approaching your business differently. You're proactive. You have strategy. You hire people that are in some, sometimes more experienced or smarter in some ways. But you start on your own first. So
Yes,
what did you do, like, in terms of cash flow? How did you approach cash flow when you started your new business?
Well, what was so interesting is, so I moved out to California by myself, no family, no friends, no support, no income. Okay. And then I moved out in 2009. I got an opportunity to do neurolinguistics training for a company in 2010. So for a year, I traveled the world as a neurolinguistics trainer. I taught platform and presentation skills in Hong Kong. But the reason why I'm bringing that up right now is because an opportunity came up, and I said yes without knowing what in the world I was doing. I didn't know. And I think that's part of it right now too. It's like, are you willing to be open to opportunities that come your way? And Sigrun, because I said yes to that, and I traveled, the globe for a year, people started asking me, Keri, do you coach? Like, I love your energy. I love what you do. Do you work with people? And I started saying yes. Again, no idea really what I was doing, except that I had an opportunity and I leaned into it and I said yes. So all of a sudden I have all these international coaching clients. And I was doing life coaching at the time, like, again, NLP, all that sort of stuff. And then I could have kept going with that, but I knew that wasn't where I should be going. So I pulled back, and I remember the aha moment where I saw a coach online on camera, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, that's so not authentic. I can help that. And it was that aha moment. So the whole point of that was, like, start where you are. You don't have to figure everything out right now. You just have to go, what am I really good at? What is showing up for me? What is under my feet that I can start supporting people with? And not judging yourself, not saying I don't know enough, I don't know how to do it. And so that was the first thing, Sigrun, for me, was just to start saying yes to opportunities that came up, because I feel like that is always part of the path is by you start taking, the path ahead, and then it starts taking its own course of action as you get quiet and clear with what it is that you want to do. Now, when it came to cash flow, I remember my first client, when he asked me what I charged, I was like, I don't know. What do I charge? As many people probably feel, am I charging enough? And I remember the first time I said $500 a month, I was scared out of my gourd. Like, oh my gosh, are they going to say yes? And he did. And his results were amazing. And then from there, my confidence grew. The very first thing I did, and I want to say one of the greatest lessons that I've learned, even when you're starting out on your own, Sigrun, is to find some sort of support, whether it's a virtual person or a very part-time assistant, someone that can help you so you're focused on doing what you can do. The Pareto 80-20 rule. If you are starting out in your business and you're starting over, and I know that we have to do everything in the beginning, but I also challenge that, because if you're the only one that can go out there and get the sale and do the videos and share the message, having someone even a couple hours a week that can help you on the back end with emails, contracts, payments, helping you get more opportunities. I did that early on. I didn't try to do it all on my own. I actually got help quicker than I did before. But I was very clear with what that person did. And I feel like right now, clear direction and leadership and delegation is really important, because we can only do what we're really great at. I mean, we can do everything, right? But I don't think we should as entrepreneurs. And I feel like oftentimes we're stuck in the weeds of running the business instead of being the spokesperson and the salesperson for the brand that actually brings the business in. Does that make sense to everyone? So early on, when I started Inspired Living, I remember hiring an assistant to help take things off my plate that I knew wouldn't serve the greatest good of what I was doing. I also figured out how to do group coaching very quickly. I did telesummits. Like, how quickly can I get the message out there? And I feel like that's really important, is not waiting for people to find you. Man, I hopped on that video train. I was using video. Again, my first teleseminar, I think I had 5 people, so you have to be willing to go out there. And I always say confidence comes from doing, not thinking. You cannot sit here and think about all the things that you can be doing. You have to start trying things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and not being afraid to make mistakes so you can move forward.
Yeah. So we'll open it up to questions. So if you have questions for Keri, you can ask here. I'm going to actually check also our page that if you have any questions, and we'll continue the conversation, just to let people know that you can actually ask some questions.
Yes, please ask questions. Actually, Anna is saying, I've decided to hire a VA just when the pandemic struck last week. I want to bring more content out there to serve more people, and I need help with that. My concern is, how do I find a good person now who will stay with me after the crisis instead of working with me just to bridge the good times? Anna, my thought, first of all, I want to say congratulations. Again, I just hired 3 new full-time employees before all of this happened. So we have a responsibility, right? To them, to us. I think we also have to be very mindful of cash flow. And I think you have to ask people for help. I know a lot of people that are saying, hey, I can't pay you full-time right now, but I can pay you part-time, or, let's work a different way to compensate. There's different ways right now, but I think having a VA is a great decision. I think finding the right person for right now. I wouldn't worry so much about what happens after this pandemic.
No.
We want good people to stay with us, but I think if you found a good person that can support you right now, then just trust that that's the right thing for you to do right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that this is the time also to assess your team. I've been emphasizing that the whole day, that, we often wait, almost like you said, reactive, that instead of assessing your team on a regular basis, when it's good times, there's no need to assess all the things we've signed up for, all the software tools, or all the people that are helping us out. And suddenly when you realize, oh, maybe cash flow is not going to be as fluid as it used to be. So it's time to take stock on everything.
Absolutely.
Of course, I'm not
all of our fixed expenses, all of the things that we have, reoccurring payments, all our subscriptions, our team roles. Yeah, this is the time, right, to really dissect what is mandatory and what is not.
Yeah.
I want to say one other thing, Sigrun. One of the interviews that I did with a friend of mine, his name is Glenn Stearns. It's on my website under Inspired Living TV. You have to watch his interview. So he started Stearns Financial with barely a high school diploma, barely got through college. He sold it for $13 billion. He went through the recession. It's a mortgage lending company. And one out of his things that he said during his interview, which I loved so much, he was also a father at 14, was that he got on the phone and talked to people.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I wish I would have done with the agency. Instead of sitting there in fear, trying to figure it out on my own, I so wish I would have just called my vendors, called my clients, say, hey, you know what? I can't pay you this full amount right now. Will you work with me? We're going to get through this together. I think because my pride and my ego was so much more attached, I didn't do those things. And now I think we all have the opportunity to call our landlords, to call our banks, to call our clients, to talk to our employees and our team, to be transparent, to be vulnerable. People want to help people. And Glenn was like, I made it through the recession because I reached out to people. I asked people to work with me. I said, hey, trust me, I'm here. You know my values. You know I'm going to show up for you. And, now he sold for billions of dollars after the recession. If that's not inspiring, I don't know what is. And I think it really comes down to building trust with people and saying, hey, the thing about this right now is the recession, I felt it didn't hit everybody in the world, right? I mean, the rich were still rich. We all felt it, but not like this pandemic, right? Where not one person is not affected right now.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity for you to reach out and say, hey, I need help, or I can't pay this right now. How can we work this out together? Or can I extend my payments? And I think that, again, to be vulnerable and to take ego out of it and just realize we're in this together and we're all going to have to come together. And I also want to say, though, this is not the time to stop selling what you do, to stop helping people. People need help more than ever, right? So it's not a time to cower, but it is a time to get creative.
I've been talking a lot about this is time to pivot. I think some of the offers we may have are just not a fit for right now, but our clients need us. Maybe they need us for something else, something different. And I think a lot of people I've been talking to today in the last few days are creating something smaller, maybe, like something more that's easy to consume. We are actually putting out a weekend boot camp for helping people create new offers. But it could be a 4-week course. One of my clients, she got the idea of helping people write copy for their website in 4 weeks. Normally her program is 9 months. And I'm like,
perfect.
This is perfect because, this is the time to work on some projects you have been postponing.
Yes. Books that you want to write. I have a client right now who's like, I'm finally going to be able to write that book. I'm finally going to be able to put out my video course, my online course that I've been working on. I'm finally going to be able to shoot videos that I've been wanting to do. I'm going to launch my podcast. Again, right now, visibility is key. You have to look at how am I showing up on a regular basis. So when people think of this, they think of me. It's what I've been teaching the last 10 years, and it's never been more important than right now. And it's how you show up in your space, right? And it's how you show up to serve people. And we have right now, we're like, hey, if you need help building your business right now, you need help with visibility and getting on camera, my team, we're here to talk to you. Like, how can we help? And it is get creative. Maybe you're not going to do your 6-month course, or we're not doing our 2-day live on camera training. We're doing a 5-day class on how to show up on camera. So you got to get creative and meet people where they're at. I think that's huge, Sigrun.
Yeah. I'm employed still at IT security company. Want to help others with understanding of IT security better. Need for women to do so. Don't know. But I always think I don't know too much and what I could offer. Well, you're going to show up for the weekend boot camp, obviously. But I do think if you have a job, I think I would take it slow. I still think a recession is the best time to start a business. But, I would also make sure that I'm not like, quitting on a job or anything. Yeah. So, but there is a great time. So if you start in a recession, then you're more likely to not have issues the next time a recession comes. They come every 8.5 years, according to statistics. So yeah, just, it's more about getting in the space of creativity, I would say.
Absolutely. And you know what, Sigrun? I think that sometimes when we're forced to look at things differently, to change our perspective, to go inward, like really amazing things happen. Again, inspired living was never a thought. I never had a plan B. It was like, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going at it. And you know what, though? The universe and God holds different plans for each one of us. And I think that when we're willing to look at things as opportunity and not like, woe is me, I'm a victim, what's going to happen? My life is over. Like, again, our mindset is so powerful. It guides everything. And I think if you look at this as, wow, this is a challenge. Okay, I'm going to face this challenge. How am I going to show up as a leader? How am I going to reinvent? What am I going to do next? And just starting to put it out there. And I do agree with you, starting a business when you're forced with no other option sometimes is the greatest way to see what you're really capable of. And we're all capable of amazing things that we don't even realize. We're capable of so much more than we realize. And when we are faced with times like this of challenge and uncertainty, like, you know what, we get to rise up. And this is a great time, again, to put together that vision journal, to get clear on your intentions, to look like what's important to you. And maybe, what is that thing that you've been always wanting to do that you didn't trust that you could do? And I read that someone said, I don't feel like I know enough. I guarantee you, if you're in the IT industry or you're in any sort of industry, you know more than someone else. And, that self-critic, I don't care where you are, how much of an expert you are, it always creeps in because we have an ego, right? That's out there to protect us and keep us safe. But you know more than you think you know. And it's really finding the target audience and meeting them where they're at.
Yeah. You only have to be 2 steps ahead of your client.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and that imposter syndrome, it is actually, I think it's more ambitious people that have that than those who don't. So I would rather say that's a good sign.
It is a good sign.
Yeah,
Yes.
it keeps you humble, and you're not going to be this arrogant person that nobody likes.
Right.
So I would say that's just a good thing. We just have to get over it so we actually can help our clients and put ourselves out there.
Yeah, it's the number one thing when I talk to people about being on camera. They're like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound. I don't know what to say. And with all the love in the world, I say you need to get over yourself. Video's not about you. Yes, you want to feel good. You want to be clear in your message, which is what we do. But at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about reaching the person on the other side. And so we have to get over ourselves sometimes, Sigrun, and be like, you know what? This is not about me. This is about who I'm committed to serving. This is about the result I know I can provide. This is about me taking care of my family and building my business. And it's, people don't do business because someone's pretty or someone is super handsome. I mean, they choose to invest in themselves because they see themselves in someone else. And each and every one of us can be a light for someone else, can be a role model, can be a leader for someone else. And like you said, 2 steps ahead, but often our inner critic keeps us from doing the amazing work we're capable of. And it kills me. It's like, get over it, know who you're talking to, understand how you can help people, and then just start putting it out there.
That is
Confidence
fantastic.
comes from doing.
Yeah. So I think we have covered everything, Keri. And it's been beautiful to connect with you again and talk about your journey. I think it's another reminder that if you have a positive attitude like you have and you trust, you can do anything. So guys, if you still have some questions, you can also add them to the Facebook Live on my page. Make sure you share that Facebook Live. There's an individual Facebook Live for each guest. So we want to make sure that as many people as possible see the interview with Keri. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Sigrun. And I would love if anyone has questions
on your baby.
What was that?
Congratulations again on your baby.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say, if there's anything I can do, to help people right now, the boot camp that you're providing is invaluable. I'm so glad you're doing that. We have a private Facebook group where we really help people with the on-camera part. It's Ignite Your It Factor. Come join us. And just right now, community is so important. Yeah. Mindset, know that this isn't happening to you. It is happening for you. Great things can come from this. And if there's anything that I can do to support you right now, it would be my honor and privilege. So we're in this together.
We're in this together. Thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, Sigrun.
Keri.
All
Thank you.
right. Bye-bye.